Alright, so unlike Rage and Loop, I decided to split two videos. Mostly because I actually had more things to say, which weren't just spoiler talk. Anyway, so this is gonna be me talking about how I felt about Yangtzee River while playing it, with some more thoughts after the fact, which might not be directly about the game. So, in the beginning, this is a strange one because I can see the universal praise, however it didn't seem noteworthy to me. I'm feeling the same kind of thing I did when I was looking at Disco Elysium. So seemingly everyone enjoys it and has fun, and I try it and I just get annoyed by the game. For a bit I considered it to be an inner contrarian, speaking out just to show, oh yes, I'm a smart one, I'm different, listen to me! But no, I've liked plenty of things other people did, even if this could be the reason. I doubt it could be the whole reason I'm disliking it so much. With Disco I could form my problem quickly and simply. The game doesn't actually do what I expect it to do. I was told that it's a detective game. For one, the investigation is not even that big a deal. For two, to get to the investigation, I have to essentially fight the game and go through a lot of things which I found extremely tedious and confusing. That then shows to me a fairly shallow mystery and again a confusing plot. So the main character is shown to be a loser, but later it is revealed that he's actually capable. Then the player can go around solving everyone's problem, which is normal for a game, but I wanted to skip it all and actually investigate the goddamn mystery instead of being an MMORPG character. Yet I hit a brick. And brick wall when a skill check failed and I couldn't persuade a dude. FYI, I cheated, so I had all my stats maxed. So failing literally anything makes no sense to me. Regardless, I didn't get from that game anything what I wanted. The only praiseworthy thing I experienced was the storyline of a woman with an alcoholic husband who took a little too long to come home. It's an unimportant side quest, but I think it was treated with rumor in the beginning and actual decency and respect at the end. I'd say that was almost enough to redeem the entire thing for me. But then again, I wanted to actually play the game and it refused to let me do anything after failing said skill check. I don't know why persuading that union guy was so important, but apparently that was the only thing to do, and I didn't even see any other option of myriad sites I've later checked. I found the killer is that prostitute, and death occurred due to very subtle wound and not hanging, and I even found the bunker somewhere to the northwest, but nope, convinced union douchebag. Whatever, screw Disco Elysium. Seriously, fuck that game. With murders on Yangtzee River, though, I didn't get a reason like that to annoy me. Nothing that happened had anything that rubs me the wrong way. The characters were basically Sherlock and childish Watson. The mysteries were okay, and actually well enough done, but it's not as simple as finding every clue. There are actual decisions from the player. I was completely lost in that first one. I saw the evidence, but I didn't even try to think how it all connects, or whenever there is a possibility of two murder plots. I just assumed that one guy was blamed multiple times. It must have been him. Case closed. Then I accused the chicken. Let me repeat that. Then I accused a chicken. And the game definitely won some points with me for that. But after that, I had this feeling. It never went away. I was just looking for a reason to complain, to get angry. Simply something that I can pick out and say, yeah, that's it. I no longer play this. And I couldn't. And I couldn't explain why I felt this way either. Sure, I was annoyed at the language being Chinese by default, so I had to crawl blindly through options. Sure, I felt the interface was bad, and there were plenty of annoying moments during investigations. Also, dialogue wasn't exactly the most enjoyable thing. Everyone feels kinda like an asshole. But none of it was enough to dislike the game. So why? Why do I feel this way? I just do not know. Okay, after doing case 2, I feel a little better about the game. Probably because the douchebag who kept throwing insults and threatening everybody is getting thrown in jail. So, there is that. But I still don't really enjoy the game that much. There's just something fake about the whole thing. So the reason I've enjoyed Danganronpa so much is manifold. But an important one was that the characters were all colorful and easily distinguished. Sure, some were about as deep as a Skyrim NPC, but that doesn't make it any worse. Not everyone is gonna be deep. If anything, it was great to see them despair or affect everyone with their death. There was emotion and effort in characters. In addition, there was also the bizarre setting and constantly annoying bear. Wait. I think he did it like that. So, if there's one thing that the game has, then it's style. That's for Danganronpa. When it comes to Zero Escape, it is its own can of worms, but the important bit is what the fact that the mystery was great and the constant hints towards something insane sucked me in. In addition, the characters were also were interesting. Meanwhile, Raging Loop sucked me in right away as well, with somewhat amusing opening scene and then dramatic deaths. Also presented me with a character whom I very, very much liked. Now, with Yangtzee River, I do not like any of these people, flat out. The main guy is bland, the assistant is mildly annoying, the first killer is hitting close to home. The second killer is a douche noodle, and the rest of the cast are blunt, one-note Chinese peasants. Nothing here is interesting to me. I adore it when characters are interesting. A good cast of characters can carry even a completely subpar story, but here, I suppose, actually that's explained well by the game itself. So, in the game, the two writers, the uncle and nephew, both have their strengths, and so their novels work. But apart, now Uncle doesn't really have any good mysteries, and Nephew is just too bland and factual. So this game is basically written by the nephew. Only I didn't like the mystery much either. There's this moon logic again, like a point and click. I remember having this same issue before in Danganronpa, when I needed to present evidence and I just couldn't formulate my thoughts and connect the correct piece of a puzzle, because, again, moon logic. Oh well, I guess I'm gonna play more. Okay, so case 3. I have to say this, fine. I warmed up to it. It took longer than usual, but I admit, I did warm up to a bit to the characters. I think mainly due to the Auntie the coroner. I liked her character right away, and she just had to appear again. Something about this, I'm getting too old for this kind of character, what I very much connect with. Anyway, the case itself, I did not like it. Then I investigated some more, tried to connect the dots, heard corroborated stories, and eventually hit, let's call it stage 2. This time the investigation was even more annoying, with stuff not really making sense, more moon logic, and obnoxious travel. But that's what it takes too, not what it takes too long. The travel was not too slow, but I really was never sure whenever I was fully finished with any particular area, so I kept going back and forth only to realize I needed to rub a specific X on a specific Y. And after everything was collected, I was completely lost as to who could have done it. I still don't believe anything pointed to any specific culprit, evidence-wise. Circumstantial only. Kind of a weak murder mystery with this one. But when I actually got to the trial, and I loved how the culprit acted, arguing, bringing possible doubt into the mix, even quickly figuring out all the little slip-ups, and how the luminal worked, and just working his ass off to lie and misrepresent, definitely having a very real chance of getting away with it. That part was extremely well done, made everything up till then worth it, and at the end he even tried to make himself look sympathetic. And he wasn't. What a great villain. Terrible person, but a great villain. Okay, next is the murder on the boat. I love how this kind of setup works, and I am always looking for more of these. People stuck, no way to contact anyone outside, and there are corpses dropping left and right. A classic. Which I disliked. Yeah, I can point out why. The culprit. So a good mystery, in my opinion, relies on having a single solution. However, the problem is that in this murder there wasn't just a single culprit, and even if the game let me have only one. Someone benefits from all this. First mate, as well as the magic sister. But he can argue that she doesn't get squat, and he very much could have been responsible for the killings as well. I hate it when the story couldn't be written to have another culprit. The facts must be ironclad, and another culprit being a possibility must mean the entire thing needs to be rewritten. Instead, she just confesses. The end. Roll the credits. Did not enjoy this. However, that's when it comes to a whole mystery. But I enjoyed the investigation and trying to piece together how exactly did it all connect. The fact that I constantly needed to argue with people to figure out what exactly did they mean, where exactly is the inconsistency is, and whenever it actually implicates them in any kind of murder. That part was very, very enjoyable. So, after that, the background behind the brother's murder after gathering the clues earlier. God. The whole thing reminded me of Detective Conan. These sorts of intricate tricks are always too complicated to actually make sense. Sure, it sounds cool in theory, but the point is that all this is extremely unreliable. Something gets caught on a nail, or it burns too fast, or something gets pulled the wrong way, or it just bounces off. I was also curious whenever the dagger would actually land the right way. If you ever dropped a knife in the kitchen, you know that it flies all over the place. There's a saying, the fallen knife has no handle, meaning that nobody should try to grab it mid-air. Also, the problem is that the gameplay requires a specific kind of sequence, meaning the player is meant to put specific evidence in specific places at specific times. I knew what the trick was, but I didn't know how to tell the game what I knew. In fact, I brought up something, got dismissed instantly, advanced the dialogue a bit, and this same fact is brought up again without a problem. As if I wasn't just talking about it like 5 minutes ago. So. This is very so-so. After that, well, the trial of Chung. It's funny how the best part is the one where the main character isn't in it. So far nothing is known, but I'm already enjoying this case more than any other part of the game. That reporter check is definitely a strong point of this game. Okay, so after that I played the rest in one go. Fully expected it to end, and I was right, although it dragged on a little longer than I assumed it would. Anyway, I wanted to dislike the game. I wanted to bitch and moan, and I can complain about the common sentiment among Chinese media I have found, but in the end I did enjoy the game. I did enjoy the story, and I did warm up to the characters. Truly, I would only complain about the gameplay in the last part, because it's always confusing as to what part is exactly needed for an exact situation. But I can't really think of how it can be done differently. It's just the problem with the gameplay limitations. It's especially bad when Chung needed to connect all the evidence for brother's stabbing and draw conclusions, eventually arriving at the fact that the missing book is actually really damn important. I'd also like to mention that the assassin chick, well, the whole time I kept staring at her and waiting. Staring and waiting. You had a trial, you had people arguing, she just stood there, staring. And she actually did do exactly what I have expected. Leave it to a serial killer to fix everyone's mistakes. So, now, this isn't exactly about the game, but just some tidbits. Just something I observed. So originally Coca-Cola, which was very much strongly referenced here with a different name, it actually did have drugs in it, and it very much was cocaine. Probably a big reason why it took off so hard. It was essentially launched soft drinks as an avenue of business altogether. So this part is based on reality. Same as opium being a gigantic problem. I always wanted to learn more about the opium wars and general history Britain had with China during those years, but well, I could never find a good way to do so. There are really long, hard-to-read books, boring documentaries and stuff like that. I think the game actually reignited my interest in the subject a little bit, and might interest others as well. I do doubt Coca-Cola was so tightly intertwined with opium, but well, who knows. Like I said, I don't actually know that much about the subject. An interesting look nonetheless. I would like to praise that thing about the game. And another thing I'd like to mention is the overall mood the Chinese media have. So I've noticed this in a couple of movies, most strongly in Detective Chinatown, and now in this game as well. This thing is a little difficult to point out exactly, and neither is it easy to describe in a few words. But simply put, I'd call it disrespect. Disrespect and strong sense of nationalism. It shows itself in the way that foreigners are portrayed. Very often they are inept, stupid, evil, cowardly, and other negative words I can't bother to list right now. Meanwhile, the Chinese people, and especially the main characters in the story, are shown as smart, honorable, and more capable than foreigners. Sometimes the non-Chinese nationals prove themselves and are shown as good guys, but just like Joseph in Yangtzee River, they have to, in some way, betray their country of origin to get this more respectful tone to their character. This isn't an ironclad rule, and it's not always true, but it is so frequently snuck in as subcontext that I can't help but notice it. And as a foreigner, I do feel a little offended and a little bit scared, because it comes across as a lightly disguised racism and stubbornness. It's not a huge part of the story, I suppose. It's not as if it's a crucial part of a character's motivation. Nobody here lives to hate foreigners, and none of the foreigners exist to to oppress and hurt the Chinese man, but, well, it's uncomfortable as all, especially with how the world is going on right now and how the tensions between East and West are getting worse and worse. So, yeah, these are my thoughts on Yangtzee River.